Did Juan say that in the chat?
What? No, Christa came on and said that he's going to be here in a few moments.
Who did you say?
I said he'll be here in a few moments.
Oh, Juan?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me go live on TikTok real quick.
All right.
I hope my computer can do all of these things at once. I don't think I have to keep the actual YouTube window open for this, do I?
I don't know.
Well, if it doesn't work, I think I'll still be logged into Google. Can you go and check if we're still on? Can you look on the channel and see if our live is up?
Yeah, your TikTok is.
Yeah, but the Roundtable Alliance YouTube.
Yeah, checking it out now.
It is up.
Yep, it's live right now.
Let's see. I'm going to try turning on my video and hope that I am not completely overwhelming my bandwidth. I should have plenty, but I guess we're about to find out. So, hey, there's Bailey, Dread. We are waiting on Chief Mancias. Howdy, Auntie.
How goeth life?
You know, better than yesterday. Being over halfway to this goal, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm very happy for them. I can't believe that we got there that fast.
Chief Mancias.
Hello, Juan. So good to see you.
Hey, what's good? Same here.
So we
Just
are.
don't call me Chief no more.
All right. Everybody knows you as Chief Juan. How about that?
Just
But he's
one fine.
he's
Just
the
one.
Juan.
He's the one big one.
Mm,
Okay, I'm going to start recording. Is
the
that all
only
right?
one. You what?
I'm going to start recording. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right. So we're going to. So we are live on my TikTok. We are live on the Roundtable Alliance YouTube, and we are going to start recording in 5, 4, 3, and lead us off. Juan.
In Mautepelech. Itayapule Mautepelech. I just want to thank you and greet you and Senenapelech. Thank you for your efforts to try and help us to maintain a place where we can have our life ways and continue, you know, immersing ourselves in our life ways, because of course that's the next thing that try to take away with all this, you know, critical race theory thing that they're trying to do at the state level, to erase anything that has to do with Native or and the history that happened with us. So what we want to be able to do is to include everybody in our history, and not necessarily just be in the history of not be in that history, the genocidal history that continues to erase us. And we want to make sure that we can include the genocide, the erasure of the tribes, and also whatever the doctrine of discovery has done to our people. And I'm kind of stressed out right now and a little depressed because I'm I'm having to deal with the land issue still here, and just so I was talking to an attorney, and I've got to, once I get off of this, I got to call the people that are trying to kind of foreclose on the land here, and we got until Tuesday for that. But I don't know exactly what their demands are going to be, and that's what I'm working on. And it's kind of depressing because I mean I've been trying to do this for several years, and we've never had the any kind of help at all in trying to resolve this situation. And of course, I've been kind of on the disabled side, trying to do whatever I can just to stay alive and pay the bills. But now they're really coming um, after what I have put together here, and attacking my character in the sense of because at 5 o'clock today or 7:30 today, I have to talk to Macquarie Bank in Australia, and I think that they're behind some of this stuff going on right now here. And in talking to this other attorney, he was kind of he said he was going to do it pro bono, but now he's concerned that they might be a client of theirs, so there might be a conflict of interest. So I'm trying to either be able to come up with that large amount of money to be able to put them at bay for a while, or find some other legal way of countersuing to stop, the foreclosure. So that's where we're at right now, and we're really struggling. I'm struggling, and now we've got to go to South Dakota this week, and so anything that I do, I'll be doing from afar, and being out of pocket for 4 days is really hard for me. So I don't know. My daughter will be the only one to be able to have any contact with the world, because I'm in the middle of the ceremony, and I use the word ceremony for a choice of better words because it's not a word that exists in our language. We just call them lifeways, or part of how we live. There's a lot of words that are being used and thrown around nowadays, like ceremonies and prayer and all that kind of stuff. Those kind of words don't exist in our language, and we have other ways of expressing ourselves for that. One of them is being a person of the land, and being able to talk about sending our voice, or putting our voice out there where Creator can take it, or the lifeways is just doing what is now considered a ceremony because of the Christian colonial the Christian colonial perspective of trying to kind of ritualize everything and become ritualistic. So the word ceremony comes from that mentality. I'm working really hard on trying to kind of reach an understanding for a lot of people from my perspective and what I understand, because we say stuff like do you remember, or I remember, and those are the ways of starting a prayer for us. Just telling a story or sitting and talking like this, because someday, even though this is being recorded, someday some people will say, do you remember when Juan was on here and they were talking about that they didn't have prayer in their language, and what I see is might be true for a lot of the native languages. There are some of the words that are out there that we've had to put together, to be able to, if I yawn, that's part of my depression. I'm tired and I'm exhausted and a little depressed on what's going on. But when we talk about our language, we talk about these things, I think that there has to be an immersion in what's happening. Otherwise, people take advantage and don't understand the language completely, and they take advantage by, thinking that they can do things better. And as human beings, if we can't sit and be a tribal people like our ancestors, then there's something wrong. And that's why I even though we're working on our federal recognition right now, I'm still up in the air whether if we do get that recognition, if I'll ever enroll, because I'm not ready for the government to tell me that I'm a native. I already know who I am. I know where I come from. I know my blood. I know where my ancestors are buried, and I haven't been wrong. Even with the wall issue, it stopped a lot of. I mean, we stopped the wall before Trump was out of office because they found those villages down where my grandfather said to go get our lands back. And so he would have never said that if there was no connection or no remembering to those lands, no memory to it. That's the part of the story, is being able to share that memory and share the connection that we have to each of our relatives from that area. So I just want to make sure that we are we continue to talk about, the immersion, the acceptance, and the great connection that we have to our ancestors, and not destroy that. I think federal recognition is that whole thing saying, well, I know you killed my ancestors, and I know you were raping them and stealing our lands and hurting us, and but now because you did all of that, I'm glad that you're going to recognize me as a native. Well, it's not. I think it's kind of egotistical in our parts nowadays and at this present time to even romanticize our culture, and because of what happened to our people, there's part of the history that hasn't been shared or told at all. So that's and I think that's what we're here for, is to be able to say that and to share that.
Can I ask a question, Juan?
Sure. I'm
On
trying to
your
get to the chat. I can't.
Oh, I don't think.
There's some.
I just wanted to introduce everyone who's watching on YouTube or TikTok to Juan's daughter, Christa, who just joined us. Christa, could you introduce yourself, please?
She's coming.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
a cute one.
So I was going to ask you on your last point.
Link.
It just makes
What's
me
that?
makes me think of something I thought I've had before, which is that every story of every native or tribal or indigenous, whatever you prefer, every person I've known and gotten close to through TikTok or through Harley and meeting you guys, everyone has two sides to their story, and half of it is a deep sorrow, and half of it is soaring, magnificent joy and sacredness. I don't know what to call it. There's good and there's bad, and they're really extremes. It seems like it's. I have heard my friend Eagle Claw say that we walk in two worlds, whether we like it or not, of his people, of y'all's people. Does that feel true to you?
Well, I mean, to me, that's open for discussion because that's part of the segmentation of colonization. When I was young, they would tell me you need to learn to walk in two worlds. I would look down, and I'm only standing on one world, and that segmentation is what's created this problem with that we're having to deal with, and we get attacked on. I get attacked on, which is the issue with the pipelines, and they can do whatever they want, tear up our lands, tear up our ancestral sites, and it's okay because we're supposed to live in two worlds, but what world is those two worlds aren't balanced? You know what I'm saying? So I'd be open for discussion on that with anybody. And now this two world mentality is taking people like Bezos and Musk, to go and destroy other planets. And we haven't even taken care of this world, and actually we're destroying it. So I think that we ourselves need to redefine and change how we see that thing. As original people of the land, we have to recognize that we didn't see rocket ships going into Mars or to the moon to start new colonies. We just recognized the fact that that was part of what we were, and we had to find a balance in it. And then I'm a person that believes in the scientific method, and I believe in science. Has disproved a lot of things that at one time were just kind of part of storytelling. But when you look at the story and you look at science, I mean, there was a reason the stories were told, and that was so that we could again learn how to live and to survive and maintain our existence right here in this land. And so when I look down, I only see one world. I don't see two of them, and it leads us back to that segmentation of international boundaries, and then of course you have state lines, and you have providence lines, and you have regional lines, you have county lines, you have commercial zones, and it's always those lines that divide us and segment us and make us gatekeepers to a certain piece of land only, instead of looking at the earth as a whole. And that's why I struggle with the whole idea when they say, well, God bless America. I'm going like, well, what about the rest of the world? It's just like this one little piece is supposed to be blessed by God, whoever that God is, at the time that they're saying it. But what about the rest of the world? Who created the rest of the world? If we're going to be non-atheist, non-agnostic people and believe in in a greater power, then we have to give credit to where credit is due. That it didn't just come in and create one piece of the world 2,000 years ago. I mean, 500 years ago, just so that it could be pillaged and raped and destroyed the way it's being destroyed now by the fossil fuel industry and other, destroyers of the land. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we have to recognize that is happening today. Christa, can you talk? I have to mute myself? Oh, good. You don't have to hear me anymore, guys. I'm gonna mute myself.
You don't have to. Totally up to you. She's your daughter. You can interrupt her as you please. The consequences are yours to have.
Oh.
That doesn't sound right.
I'm joking. Christa, can you, are you there? Are you with us?
I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Christa.
Hello.
So nice to finally meet you via Zoom.
So awesome you're here. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Ditto to everything my dad said. But it's been it's been a massive struggle for a long time. Just even being who we are within our own homelands, and the struggle with fighting not just the education system or the colonial mindset of the way of things are, how people think, but within amongst our communities and the places that we were raised in, trying to not battle those identities of struggle and it's just been a long process. In the years, I'm only 39 years old, but still, there's a lot I still have to learn. And there is a lot that I'm learning from my father and the elders, and that the continuation of who we are is not going to be lost to existence, as history says that we don't exist here in Texas. But we do exist, and I'm living proof of that. I'm the descendants that weren't killed, the ones that were survivors, the ones that continued on to carry our lifeway teachings, that continued to speak the language and preserve our identity of who we are. That's who I am, and that's who I will continue to be, and that's who I'll pass on to our future generations. And I won't let anybody tell me any different. We've done the research. I've read thousands of papers of what Texas has hidden from history. And it's not fair that they do know we exist. They do know that we have been here for since time immemorial, which is first contact, and we have continued to be here. So they just don't acknowledge us in their history books. So it's time to rewrite our history so people know who we are and that we are still here, and to continue that.
So Christa, I've said this on TikTok quite a few times, but for the folks on YouTube who may not have heard it, could you perhaps tell us about how the hereditary position is do you use chairperson, Juan? I know that you have a chief.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I just use the word tribal chair, and basically because that's what the way our 501c3 is set up to be a tribal council, and basically it's made up of the elders, a lot of the elders, and that have been following, their life ways for a long time, and so I'm not accustomed to the word chief a lot, and basically I what I say is I'm just a facilitator of leadership, because I try to share that leadership as much as possible, when people aren't nuts and power hungry and thinking that they have a better way, and then try to put us aside because we grew up this way, and we grew up listening to these ways, and listening to my grandfathers who were born in the 1880s, and who were still going through all the problems that Native people were having in Texas, and even with the research that we're doing now for the federal recognition, we're finding out that a lot of that didn't change it until irrigation was brought into the Rio Grande Valley, and that's when a lot of the customary way of living in the area was changed, and a lot of them became migrants, and which was an asset to our migratory patterns. I think even before the migrant program became a thing, my grandparents were already doing the migrant thing, going into Arkansas and going up into Michigan and Wisconsin and those areas, mostly around the Ohio Valley. But I think people need to understand that there was a need for us to be able to move around, and that need was to recognize the fact that there wasn't that segmentation or compartmentalization of our presence and our inherent right to migrate, and our inherent right to be able to trade and to visit other tribal relatives. and I do prefer tribe instead of indigenous, because indigenous is a catch-all term with which kind of sets up a confused state of mind of what tribe you may be. So you get a lot of people really playing around with, I can tell you stories about what my grandfather would say about, and my mom, about the smudging that goes on today. And they would talk about how back in the day when they had to go through the plains and before they moved up into the Plainview area and to the Lubbock and Amarillo area, they had to make bundles of grass and sage, because sage was the closest woodiest thing that was down there at the time, because the elm trees were just barely starting to grow on some of the farm places, and how these wands that were real huge, they would use that for firewood. That's how they would cook outside. But nowadays, even that has been romanticized to the point where everybody wants to make wands of sage and use them for to smudge. And so we had our face masks during COVID had the logo of the tribe, and then it said, "Go smudge yourself," to try and let people know that sometimes because COVID was around, that they probably needed to go purify themselves, and that's what the smoke's about, is purification. But it also has come to fruition in this country, where they use a lot of the California white sage, and which is not from this area, and so now they're struggling. The native people, the native relatives in California, are saying that they're struggling with the wiping out of the white sage, because everybody's trying to get it and wants to use it.
Juan, we're at the top of the hour. I was going to ask you, I want to make sure that we get to the land issue, but at some point later, I was hoping that if we have time, that you might share the Esto'k Gna's tradition, your life way, your teaching regarding how the world was made.
I wasn't there when it happened.
I love you, Juan. You're so funny.
See, this is why I wanted people to see Juan. And Christa, they're quick as rabbits. So yeah, if you can y'all walk us through the land issue and the immediate land issue, especially? It's very important to understand that.
When I went to work, I was like 6 years away from the family, pretty much, kind of estranged and separated a little bit, because I was working with tribes like the Kickapoos and the Alabama Cashadas and the Pomos in California. I was their tribal administrator for them, or their contract person. And so I put my money away to be able to find a place that I could that would be a place that we could use, because we were utilizing a good friend of mine's land to do this, and but we were always limited to what we could do there, and how long we could be there, and where we could stay. And so what I thought the best thing to do, after knowing that one of the people that was a real close friend of mine lived in this area, and said that there was like some land that was here, and I had come several times over here to run sweat at their house, and I found out that this area here was the 30 acres was available. So I decided, that this is where we needed to be. I don't know why. And again, I'm telling you, I just walk the road. My road's a journey. It's not a destination. So even if we do get our recognition after I'm gone, it's part of the journey. But when I decided to go ahead and close on there was nothing here on this, just the land. And so I got a single wide and was living in that and built the sweat and started having bringing the songs, the bear songs and the bear dance and of course the deer dance and our harvest dance that was the thing that was where we have our what we call the unification of the arrows, where we bring all the clans together every year. And this has been the perfect place for that because there's enough area where people can camp out. One of the things that I always dreamt of was the ability to be able to build tiny homes in here for some of the families that would come in, and they wouldn't have to worry about the heat because harvest dance is during the summer and it's really hot. But it's either before or during or after the solstice, depending on the year and where the moon is. And that's, we follow what my grandmother did, and that was a purification time. So that's why we try. Well, I got the land to do that. But then I found out in doing the research that this land was part of the land grant that was given to what they called us here. They called us the Chayopin Indians and the Chayopinas, and then of course then you could see the breakdown of all the clans in the area. You had the Wolf clan, which is the Bayayap, and then you have the it sounds like Bayaya, but it's not Bayaya, it's Bayayap with a trailing P. And then you had the Pamake, and the Pamake were the indigenous people of color. They were brown skin. That's what we call them, Pamake. Pamake in our language means brown skin, and but not taking away their indigeneity. We just didn't know what tribe they were, because those were the people that were brought in by the missionaries. They were displaced from the interior, and eventually became part of the actual growth of this land. And that's why it was important to be able to have the land. And I did a lot of clearing of the land. I mean, I was like hoeing and shoveling. I must have shoveled over 3 tons of oak, of poison oak. I got real sick one time I used to not be allergic to it, but being in it so much. That's my grandson. This is why I do these things right there. See that other guy? Look at him. That's Enrique.
Hey, Enrique. How do you do?
Anyway, so we were so that's where we are now. But the thing is that I thought that I was going to be able to go back to work, but during RETA, when I was working in Livingston, I ran into some power lines on an ATV trying to go get the chairman of the Alabama Cachada, and took a real bad spill, and I ran into the power line. The only thing that saved me was a little thin piece of plastic that I had because it was raining, and but I went under the power lines, ended up and messed up my head a little bit, got a real bad concussion, and almost passed out, and ended up most of that half a day out there in the hospital before I came back and went back to work for 10 days. And so I really didn't take care of myself, didn't follow workman's comp or anything, because I didn't want to mess with that, because I know how everybody feels about workman's comp in Texas. And so I ended up, kind of losing all my benefits and stuff. And I went through all that hardship of trying to maintain, some kind of financial status here. I even went to work as a ranch hand outside of Tilden, and between Tilden and Cross. ranch out there called the Dr. Martin Ranch, which was run by the Sibleys. And I don't know if you know who John Sibley was, but John Sibley was the guy that did the order from President Lincoln to hang the 38 Dakota natives, and somehow this family has started to feel bad about what they were doing, and so they were including us in a lot of things that we're doing there. I went there because there was a running battle that happened, and where my great grandfather, whose name was Cavazos, and it's not that I mean, I don't like the word chief because there were greater people, leaders that were chiefs than me, you know, that died because they believed in their people. And one of them was Natakasia, which was Manuel Cavazos' dad. There were 256 people that were massacred at the Devil's River, and he was left for dead with a lance in his shoulder in the middle of the river. He was the sole survivor and told the story of what happened there, and how the Spanish had come in and massacred and were throwing babies in the air and sticking them on the lances of the lancers of the Spanish. He called them the long robes and the long spears, and that came in and were doing all this damage. And there's a painting in Justisburg at Lake Ellen Henry that you can probably hike up to and see, and it shows you the massacre of what the Spanish were doing, especially the missionaries. So one of the things that has come out of this whole thing is the fact that we've been able to start telling the history correctly, trying to bring the language. Even the word Yanawana, it comes from our language, and with the way you read it nowadays, the way everybody's using it, basically because they don't understand the language. Yanawana, all it means in our language, it means and the correct way of saying is Yagna Wana, and but the Spanish would hear one word, and anytime that and they changed it to make it sound how they wanted it to sound. And Yagnawa now means a place where I rest. That's all it means. It's not a spiritual waters or a spiritual river or anything. Actually, the San Antonio River was called Amatoya Payayap, which means Amatopayayap means the Wolf River. We called it the gathering of the wolf clans along the river there. And so and we used those rivers a lot. We lived along the rivers. As a matter of fact, here in Floresville, right up next to the river, there's a couple of old oak trees. And when they built the event center, and if you get a chance to come out to the powwow that we're having in August, and the only reason I said that is because the building is not on top of any of the graves. And the only reason that the one that was uncovered was because they overdid the digging, but we were able to repatriate it. And there's a big, huge oak tree there that still has about 40 remains around it, and we won't let anybody touch it. And none of the old oak trees that are there, we let nobody touch them. Are you talking to me? Oh,
You're muted, Nick.
I'm sorry.
Nick, you're muted.
I'm not blowing you. Somebody on TikTok just said they're selling a ribbon skirt to send money. I love you, Juan.
Well, anyway, that's what happened here, and what has happened is we went public. A lot of the people are starting to wake up. It's a and what happened at Standing Rock, when they talk about being woke here in Texas, it was already happening, and because we were already fighting the coal mine in Eagle Pass, those Republicas, and we were already fighting the the Homeland Security, because in 2004 is when in 2000 is when the Patriot Act was passed, and in 2004 we were already I had already had my first experience with Homeland Security when they came in at the Kickapoo and wanted the Kickapoos to waive their sovereignty so that they could do whatever they wanted on the reservation land. And if
That
you
go
know anything
over?
about,
How did
well,
that?
as long as I was there for that year, they I don't think they ever did anything, but I think later they did. They did. I'm not sure. I'm not just speculating, because they those republicas was ready to put a gray water pipeline through the reservation there. So I don't know how they dealt with their sovereignty, and that's one of the problems that we have, that we go back to the compartmentalizing of what is happening, and that we're not working together as original people. We talk about being indigenous, but everybody is still with that sovereignty mentality, and I think, and if people were really to study the word sovereignty, it stems from the doctrine of discovery, because that's where they talk about a man in his castle, and that's what sovereignty really and truly is. And we have to redefine it ourselves as Native people, instead of allowing, these old ways of making laws and doctrines and dogmas to exist. I think that if people were to read Vine Deloria a little bit more, they'd have a better understanding of what we have to do with our sovereignty as nations, and then the treaties that were made with us, and how better to work with each other on that, to be able to work together instead of separately, because they use us against each other. And that's happened a lot, even when you're working towards to federal recognition. If there's already a federally recognized tribe there, whether it's native to the land or came in later, if they don't like you, you're gonna have a hard time getting quote unquote the recognition. Again, that's one of the problems that I keep talking about, is that we're not working together. And here in Texas, when they did away with the Indian Commission in 1969 with Bill Price, who was the governor at the time, because there was no tribes that were recognized at the time, and it wasn't until after he did away with the Indian Commission that the Alabama Kashada got their state record. They were state recognized. They were the only ones, and then they got their federal recognition. And of course, the other two tribes, one of them, the Tigwas got it in 84 and Kickapoos in 82. But none of us who are original people of the land have gotten any kind of recognition from the state. A lot of people say they have, but again, we're the original people of the land. We're not we didn't come in later, like the Athabascan speakers or the Uto-Aztecan speakers. We were already here. We're not Coahuiltecos, and I have to say that because our language is not a Uto-Aztecan language, it's a Uto-Taoan. And this goes back to the whole understanding who we are as a people and understanding our creation story, because it's based on a lot of the words that are still. And so I'm just at right now we're still trying to deal with privacy issues, and trying to become a little less, we want to be public so everybody knows, and our relatives can wake up to it. But again, you have to understand that there was that. Yes, it's fortunate that we were raised that way and we understood what it was, how we were being raised. But there are things that don't denote our culture, and I hate the word culture too, because it should be life ways. But to make people understand that that the narrative has to change, And the only way it can change is to understand the connection that we have as Esto'k Gna, as human beings, to everything around us, is not based on, you know, how pitiful or how sorry I am to be who I am, and I have to go and struggle and suffer all my life to do that. That was not the issue here in Texas. We were peaceful and helpful and happy people. And when Creator saw, you know, that there was a need for someone to look over the land and to connect all the animals, Creator started looking at each one of the animals, starting with the dolphin, down at the river of the mouth of the Rio Grande, in the Gulf Coast, and took all the positive things that the dolphin has to offer, like the friendliness, the ability to try to communicate, the ability to be a parent, and its ability to maneuver. And then it came onto the land and realized that it needed to have a connection between the turtle and what was happening, and took the best qualities of the turtle as well, that it could live in what everybody calls in two worlds, which is the water and the land, and survive in it. But it gave birth on this land, and how it gave birth was important because it fixed the nest, it fixed the place. And that's how First Woman came to be. It took all the good things, that the tolerance of the turtle, to be slow enough to see and to watch what's going on, and to let everybody know what was needed. And then when that creation of woman was begin to be attacked by the bigger animals, Creator saw the need for a protector of that which gave life, and that was a life bearer, which was a woman. And so it started looking at the strength of a bear, the stealthiness of you know, the ocelot, that it was able to be able to stalk from the trees, and also it looked at its need to be able to defend by taking the anger of the badger and being able to fight like the badger did. So it took all those qualities to make what is man and what is woman, and that's the creation story of how it happened. The butterfly is a big part of the creation of the woman. The hummingbird is a big part of the creation of the man. And so the feminine and the masculine are still there, you know, because of the way we see these things and how important that is to the creation of man and the female. And realizing that we're so close to the equator, the woman really didn't need that much didn't need that much to gather food, because the food was available. There was a lot of prickly pear, there was a lot of berries, a lot of things that, you know, they could survive with. They learned how to you know, take the smaller game, but they also needed the protection from the bigger animals that were there, and that's where the man came in. So they were able to, you know, even look at the buffalo and how both the women and the man both have the need of the buffalo, the bison. I'm sorry, you know, in our makeup. But through with what happened with colonization, we've lost that connection to be able to learn to go and look what animal we need that day to be part of it, and it's like shape-shifting, and people have a hard, and some tribes have a hard time with that shape-shifting. But for us, we needed to understand that because we needed to survive, because we were so migratory. We were nomads, we were migratory. We knew where we were at all the time. We knew where our villages were, and just like today, and that's why we continue to to talk about this creation story and how it's important we're tied into the trees and to the trees and how important that is for all of us. And I'm sorry. And that was part of what we were doing every day. So I'm just, what I'm saying is that what we're doing here is not, we don't practice our ways, we just live them, and we try to be as the way the Creator made us and shape, and to help us to shapeshift us. And we had to learn how to, the problem is we can't stay being that animal all the time. And even with like our medicine, our sacred medicine that we use, we only use it twice a year, but we need to learn to go back to shape-shifting to being a human being. It's like alcoholism, when you drink a lot of alcohol and all you do is drink, you become that alcohol. You're no longer that thinking, feeling human being, and you have to learn to go back to being that human being to be able to exist, and we don't do that anymore. That's the way our medicines are. That's the way, even the what they call medicine today, for the THC that everybody is wanting to get into all the time. And I'm not against it or at all. I'm just saying that we need to learn to use it in a good way, and then learn to go back to being human beings. Because I would rather talk to a human being and not someone that's going to be angry all the time because they want to be a badger and they want to fight everybody all the time. Or they feel like, their toxicity becomes their anger, and their toxicity becomes their need to expel, their own hurt and their own hard time. And that's why I do what I do. I mean, that's why we need to land. That's why we need to be able to be there as a non-recognized tribe, working toward that recognition. I mean, it's hard because there's 7 criteria we have to meet, and one of them is the last one that we're going to work on is the enrollment process and get that enrollment going. And that's where we are right now, is trying to get all that investigative history put together. And it's followed my family all the way up into the early 1700s and almost the 1600s. So and it's all part of living in these rancherias and these little ranchos and these places that we know down in South Texas. And we're even working with the guy who wrote the book called The Indians of the Rio Grande Delta. And I welcome you to read the book, because you can get it through Amazon. You can get a hard copy, and you can also get it on audiobooks through them. What is that called? Where you can get a book,
Audible.
and read it. Yeah, Audible or Cyber, whatever you call it.
Kindle bookstore, standard Amazon stuff.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but that's where it is. It's the only place you can find it. And
Fine. I actually have a
I
question.
also have 2 books that I have written. I self-published them. One of them is called "So Your Grandma's an Indian and You Don't Like Controversy." That's one of them. The other one is called "The Sounds of Oppression," and you can go on lulu.com and look under One Big One, and you'll find them there.
Could you spell that for us?
Lulu.com. It's LULU.com, and then
Gotcha.
it's a One Big One, which is my Gmail. And but you can, I think you have to do like lulu.com
Here.
dot
In,
spotlight dot One Big One, something like that. I don't know. You have to look.
people can find. I'm sure people can find it. One Big One on lulu.com. LULU.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you can see, my aunt teacher Nelia is showing you her somi'sek she's made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the things people don't realize is that with the investigation that we're doing, we're finding out that we were all the way up into these areas around Goliad and into Gonzales, and even into Bastrop, and there's an archaeological site there that they wanted us to consult on, and we really haven't reached out because we've been so busy with this land issue, but that has the same funerary or funeral behavior that the other sites have that are connected to who we are as people.
So Juan, on that topic,
I just hope you like the little pouch that I'm making. So, and sell for y'all.
Yes.
yeah, I'm sorry, on TikTok can't see this. It's here. Maybe I can. Can you show it again, Katrina, so people on TikTok can see this?
Yep, right here.
Yeah,
Showing it right.
So somi'sek is the Esto'k Gna word for Texas, right, Juan?
Somi, and then sek, and SE''K.
And what is there a direct translation of that? I mean, I don't imagine it really means, right?
Yeah, well, it just kind of means the abundant lands or the overabundance lands. That's what it really means.
All right.
Our words aren't that big, but that's what they mean.
So
Go ahead.
if I can ever convince someone from Texas Monthly to listen to this, there you have it. The Esto'k Gna were historically the first people to love Texas.
Well, I'm not gonna say that, but we were the first contact.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said you were the first
to
love Texas. Yeah, because everybody from Texas loves being from Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love being from somi'sek. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
it's important for people to know that that was the first term for our land, I think.
yeah.
I actually like it better than Texas too. Like
It's beautiful.
Well,
Texas kind of
Well,
sounds like
Dad-
Texas.
yeah. It does, doesn't it?
So Juan
But
or
Yeah.
Christa, either of you or both of you, can y'all, since we just hit 4:30, I want to make sure that we get everyone a chance to, so I can, chop this out and maybe make a TikTok out of it. Could one of y'all tell us condense it down for the everyday folks out here watching exactly what is happening with the land that you purchased with your own money in your ancestral homeland near the Rio Grande River?
well, it's not near the Rio Grande River. We're actually like 2.5 hours from the Rio Grande. We're next to the San Antonio River.
Oh, the San Antonio
we're
River.
like-
My mistake.
Yeah, three. We're actually 3 miles east of it, and but again, like I'm saying, it's called Lost Springs in this area because when it rains, it's a lot of sandy loam, and it goes through the sand into the clay and then runs down, and we've got like 3 tanks on the area. One of them stays pretty much full all the time. The other 2 only when it rains, and then it goes into the water table. We're under the Carrizo Wilcox water table, and what is happening is that we're trying to maintain the land, trying to come up with. We need quite about 100,000 to be able to stay on here, and we're working on it right now. And the other part is trying to keep the feds off our ass as well, because I don't know if you've seen that movie with, what is it called, Judas, and the one with the movie that just came out.
I don't even remember the last.
But,
I think the last movie I saw was when
It's
Harley and I
about-
went to see Sonic.
About my ex, I think, or Is that the one you're talking
Yeah,
about? Where
I can't hear you. Say it again.
I know it was about an activist that was betrayed by somebody in his inner circle, basically.
Yeah, and he was shot while he was asleep. And
Yeah, it was
but
Malcolm
that,
X. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't Malcolm X. It was I can't remember the guy's name. Gosh, I can't
Well,
believe it.
well, I know Malcolm X was shot while asleep, but it's probably not that. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's movies about him.
but anyway, how he was infiltrated by another African American or black person, and eventually after they did the documentary, the guy who was the infiltrator says that he committed suicide, but who knows? Knowing this country and their hatred for people of color and their division toward people of color, it's not good, huh? So that's where we're at right now.
So Juan, tell me, maybe I want to try and sum this up as best I can for people, or as best you can for people, or whichever, because I want really people to, so what you have right now is the goal of $6,000 by August 1st, because this is a level issue, correct? This part.
That's our attempt to try can I try to I'm trying to really actually get caught up to a point, because we've gone through a little fluctuation in personnel, and we're trying to make sure that we're able to get back on our feet and with the right people that are there. And one of them is that we turned in our 2019 taxes a little late, and so they're charging us for it. I'm not quite sure yet. I talked to the CPA today, so they're just trying to find out that for us. So that's where I'm at right now, and that was like $5,300 that we had to pay, and that's why the 6,000. But I mean, if I can, if we can utilize even some of that money to be able to make a big payment to stop this foreclosure, that would be great. That's one of the things. That's why I'm trying to hurry with this interview, because I need to get and talk to the attorney right now in a little while about the land, because we got until Tuesday, which is the 3rd.
How much time do you have?
I'm sorry.
How much time do you have? How much
today?
Right. How much time do you have on right now?
Until August 3rd.
Oh no, I mean, how many more minutes do you have until you need to go?
I have no idea. I can call these guys anytime.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's just trying to give the people what do you call it? Certifying that pro bono attorney is going to speak for us, and
the engagement letter kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to get it to them right away, and but they can get a phone call from me saying that I'm giving him permission to speak for us, and they're making everything real difficult, like always, and when you have infiltrators that come in and they don't even realize that they're infiltrators, but they're creating more havoc, it becomes an issue. And it happens to every organization that is really trying to make a difference. And for us, it's just a question of trying to be able to develop a position where we're not being jeopardizing anything other than the tribe being involved in all the political issues, like with what's happening with Senate Bill 13 and Senate Bill 17, and because we tried in the past and we didn't want to get involved in it with what we had there at that time, and that was with House Bill 3557, the one that was a no protest bill, where they were changing the narrative to redefine what a critical infrastructure was here in the state of Texas. So we've identified several front lines, and we fight those front lines when we're able to do it. But with the ability to the inability not to have the personnel to do it, it's been a real struggle, because it's only either been me there all the time, because I was the one that was at the voting for that House Bill 3557, along with two other NGOs. And we're not an NGO, we're just a grassroots group. And I was the one that stood up, started singing, trying to stop them from voting. And we were escorted out, and I ended up on one of their no-fly lists, or the checklist, where I couldn't. If I flew, they were checking every orifice of my body. So I mean, so it was really bad. It was. I mean, they were watching me when I walked into the airport. Once they knew that I was gonna get a ticket to fly out, and it was pretty. And it was. This last time it was okay. It wasn't that bad. I think they finally, because of the land claim that I have against in Hidalgo County and Stark County, they're more aware that we mean business, and that we want to retain our lands, even if we have to buy them or have to do whatever we have to do to keep them. And here we just want to keep it, because we have families that live here, and my daughter lives here, I live here, and we have one other person who's disabled that lives on here too, and all they're paying for is just for the space to put their trailer in. And I'm at a point where I think that the government and everybody else, especially these predatory loan companies, like I was in such dire need just to make sure that our bills got paid, that for the last 2 months, that the 12.26 was very high rate for what they made with this loan. And now
Can I
Go ahead,
interject
sorry.
one? I'm sorry. I know that the one rule is that you never ever interrupt an elder, but I want to make sure people understand this. Tell me if I have this correct. You had taken out a loan for some improvements on the property because you wanted to build things like a small office for the 501c3, make some improvements to the land so people could come there and camp, like I assume like RV hookups, this kind of thing. Am I on track here?
Yes.
So because I've heard you say that you really want this place to be a place that people can come and just be with nature. So after you took out that loan, this lender went out of business, and without getting you adequate notice, I think.
Well, AIG was the original one, which was notorious for what. Yeah. And
sure. And
what
so
happened?
The problem was, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, in 2008, that's when the crisis hit, the big money crisis with the banks, and that's when Obama started bailing out the banks instead of bailing out the humans. He bailed out the banks, and so the banks went and sold their paper to other companies. And I think there was another company, Greenleaf, that was the other one that took over, and then Greenleaf sold that paper to these guys, to Select Portfolio Services, and so it was like one thing. Go ahead.
The important thing here, I think, is that at some point during this chain of custody of this loan paper, this loan note, the interest rate sounds like it went up dramatically.
Yes.
I believe my lawyer friend Steve said I could quote him on this. When I showed him the interest rate, he said it was expletive extortionate. So just leave it at that. The point is, I'm not a securities lawyer, but I'm pretty sure that your loan rate is not supposed to change just because the paper gets sold between company to company. That is we'll have to talk more about that with Steve, because he is a securities attorney, and he is also admitted to practice in the Western District of Texas, where your other cases are. So hopefully that will work out and turn into something. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take up your airtime with this. I just want to let y'all know We're at 4:45.
Oh,
Reminder.
all I gotta say is welcome to Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way they've treated us forever, out of sight, out of mind, and when they want something, they'll take it. And they've always done that, either through surveying. That's what they did initially when they first became a state. Nobody said that there was a land commission, that you need to survey your land. And this is what happened. They'd surprise you later saying, hey, look, you didn't do this.
You were denied due
But
process.
for me, I'm trying just to stay ahead of the crazy people, the ignorant, So I'm trying to do what's best for, not just for me, but for the land and for the future of this land, to the point where I'm willing to even allow the fact that I can turn over 15 acres to the tribe, because I mean, I just want to make sure that everybody's happy. You know what I'm saying? And but just to be able to pay the whole thing, because the land itself is worth a whole lot more with the houses on it and all the improvements that we have with the septic tanks, the water that's been put into here, and all the electrical work that we've done on it. So I just I think people just need to understand that right now we're all broke. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We're all broke. We're not working, and I'm just living off my disability. And my daughter just had to quit her job too because it was just getting too costly to go back and forth from here to San Antonio to work. And she's got three kids to worry about, and her companion is he's also become disabled, so it's really hard. So we're struggling, and I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this right now. I'd find some other way to fight it. Which is, I mean, I'm not what was those guys up in Oregon that were fighting for their land?
The Bundy clan, I believe, is who you're talking about.
But
I'm glad we're not.
and they got away with a lot of stuff.
Of course they did, because they're white.
Huh?
They did
Okay,
because
we got another. I've got to get going here because I've got that
fine.
Macquarie Bank call today. That's another one that kind of ever since I started fighting with them, they started attacking us. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I hope you can
So
do
much,
something
Juan.
with the Huh?
So thank you so much, Juan. We really appreciate you,
No, I think I
Good time.
appreciate you guys. You guys have done more than people that have tried to do some help here, and we're working on it.
that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
is to help you.
the people that were here for a year, y'all have done more in just a few weeks.
Well, oh, I don't know what to say about that, but I'm glad we can
A
help.
few days.
Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank
no
you.
problem. We love you guys.
We do.
We love you guys. Thank you very much. The way we say
All
it
right.
in our language, we say Anacuela Mayema Payaso. Anacuela says I love you, and Ayema Payaso says go give life. That's how we say see you later. Yeah,
Before you go
say-
on, can I ask you a question about that phrase? Because on the flag, it's I am a PSL, right? So does the word order not matter?
Ayema Payaso means give life. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because when you say it, you say life give. In other words, life gives you something, so you need to give life back.
I see. Interesting.
It's all
You
about
see the
balance.
order? Yeah,
Wow.
it's all about balance. With that word, that's why it's important to say it that way. Because ayema paeso means give life, but if you say it the other way, paeso ayema, it means life gives to you, so give it back. In other words, stay alive.
Thank you, Juan. Christa.
Right.
So much.
Thank you,
Thank you, both of you.
Cornelia. This has been great. And I look forward to doing some more of these with you, hopefully.
This has been
All right.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
We'll see you.
Y'all have a good evening. I'm going to turn the live off now. Thank y'all